So tonight we're talking about, is the Fed going to crush the real estate market in the U.S. and especially Florida with all these rate hikes? And we've invited our friend on, Brent Starts from United Lending. He'll be joining us. And so don't go anywhere, because we've put together a whole bunch of slides for you with some brand new information and articles. And we're going to try to flush out this question: if the Fed's raising rates like they are is going to do more than a slowdown, it's going to actually crush the market. So we're joined by our good friend Brent Starts. Hey Brent, how you doing tonight?
Great, Lee. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
So some news came out this week, the Adp report. Tell us a little bit about that before we get going.
Yeah, ADP, that's the payroll company we've all heard of. It's the largest payroll company. And what they do is once a month they put out the jobs report, basically the new jobs payrolls that they've seen in their business. And so it's a really good leading indicator of what we can expect in the jobs report that comes out this Friday. And so they were expecting 288,000 new jobs this last month. So that's a pretty strong employment report. In reality, 132,000 jobs were created last month as far as ADP's, payroll, the payrolls they process. So it's a really good indicator of the jobs that were added last month. The last month's jobs report was, off over 500,000, incredibly high. And so that's what's giving the Fed some breathing room to increase, rates. And in other words, hey, everyone has a job, there's plenty of jobs. And so that gives them the license, if you will, to increase rates, to slow down demand and curb inflation. That's the premise, basically.
So what's the next report you think could impact rates?
Well, I'll tell you what the next report is this next Friday, or this coming Friday in a couple days. The jobs report, we're going to get the figures for the last month, and we'll see what that looks like, to keep up with population growth and immigration, that type of thing. We need to average 175,000 new jobs per month. So if anything above that's a positive figure for the economy. In other words, employment's growing. Anything below that, it's contracting, and employment is lowering. And so, we have a really interesting dynamic right now because of the COVID thing. So many people left the marketplace and left the workplace, never to return. And so some of these figures are kind of skewed because a lot of them are still coming back from those types of situations. So the numbers that we're seeing are much higher than normal. So we're, on average, we're seeing in the 200-300s, and we're seeing unemployment at 3.5 nationally. So on the surface, it looks like, full employment. But a lot of those are second jobs, and you have to really dig into the report to see what's really going on there, and can they really raise rates more than they have? Seeing what's the demand that's slowing right now.
Well, I'm hearing there's 40 million jobs out there right now. I mean, that's what's being told on the business news, that we still have 40 million jobs available.
Right.
So, I mean, it is a really interesting deal. So we're going to get into all of this tonight. We're going to talk about the Fed. We're going to continue on with this conversation. But tell us where you're coming from, where you're watching from in the United States. And another thing is, make sure you bring us questions and leave us comments on your thoughts about what's happening right now. We want to hear from you, and we want to hear your questions, and we always answer them. And also, don't forget to drop some comments of what's happening in your neck of the woods, and what you think's going on right now in this crazy economy we're in, because it's like nothing we've ever seen. It's a really strange thing. So to get into it, let's show our screen and talk about what came out this week, and a couple of articles that we pulled out. So Fed leaders unswayed, softened CPI, see rate hikes into 2023. So, the consumer price index did come down a little bit. We've seen that kind of sway. Not everybody agrees with those numbers, though, because a lot of things aren't being included in that, and housing inflation is definitely one of them. So, because housing inflation has been absolutely unbelievable for the last 2 years. So, but anyways, the Fed believes that they need to keep raising rates, and most analysts believe that they're going to do that into the next year, 2023. And then this article came out below it by Goldman Sachs. They say U.S. home prices growth to stall completely, Goldman warns. So we expect home prices growth to stall completely, averaging 0% in 2023. The Goldman analyst says while outright declines in the national home prices are possible and appear quite likely for some reason, large declines seem unlikely. So let's cover that just a little bit, Brent. If anyone out there has any comments on that, please leave them right now. But
your first article, Lee, if I could respond to that one, the Fed respond, to the softer CPI numbers. In other words, consumer price index. In other words, inflation appears to have topped out, at least the rate of acceleration, right?
Right.
And so and there's a couple things they look at. They look at core, core CPI, consumer price index. But the other one of their favorite things to look at is personal consumption expenditures. Basically the same thing. And they have a core which throws out energy and food as well. And that was 4.6%, pace year over year. So, it is slowing down. But every time the other reports would come out, what we're seeing is the Fed. You kind of have to read between the lines, because what's happening right now is, like, for example, this morning at 8:15, the ADP report came out. That's a really bad report. In other words, half the jobs were filled that were expected to be filled, right?
Right.
And so that would normally be a bond-friendly report. In other words, interest rates would drop on that report. 15 minutes later, one of the Federal Reserve governors, Williams, he spoke out and said, hey, you know what, we're going to get serious about this, and we're not stopping our rate hikes until inflation's subdued, is basically what he said. And so it seems to be when these softer CPI figures come out, or the jobs report comes out light, they seem to jawbone, because they're getting, about it, basically counteracting what they're actually seeing, because they really want to make sure that the impression is that they're doing everything they can to stop inflation. And, a lot of it's, based on, frankly, oil that goes through the whole economy. So
right.
they're in a tough spot.
They're in a really tough spot. And I mean, this Goldman Sachs came out, they're the only ones really saying that as far as experts go right now. I don't know, I read the whole article. I'm going to leave all of these articles and I'll put them all in the information section below tomorrow. So if anybody's watching this now and they want to read these articles for themselves, I'll drop them in the links in. But one of the things that, I read the whole article, and it just, I think in certain markets, we might see something like this happen where we see prices stall, but other markets, they're still moving pretty strong. And that's going to be a real problem, because we have a supply problem. So, this article came out in March, and, this is another one. This is the Chamber of Commerce, right? This is the chief economist for the Chamber of Commerce. And because Econ 101, inflation is caused by supply and demand. Many are blaming price increases on business padding their bottom lines, but high inflation has a clear cause that are easily identifiable and broadly known. So, we're seeing inflation, I think, right now because we are in a supply and demand problem. We don't have enough supply to meet the demand, especially in housing right now. I mean, we're still behind the 8 ball on housing. And we're going to go into this slide right here, mortgage rate forecast. So, this is another place that we can look, as, we're seeing, rates going up between 5 and 6%. And if you look, the Bankers Association, National Association of Realtors, Realtor.com, chief executive economists, and Freddie Mac all forecast, rates to be anywhere between 5 to 6%. So are you thinking rates are going to cross 6%? Or are you like everyone else here? They think that, if it hits 6%, that's going to be the highest it's going to go?
I think that these estimates are correct. I think, we have to look at, rates were in the low threes and they went as high as 6. And I think that, they doubled. And so, I think that that's a significant, I mean, a very significant, when you think as a percentage, 100% increase in
Right.
interest rates in a 6-month period is essentially how long it took to do that. That's a very serious effort. And I think that what we're seeing now, as far as the economic slowdown, the activity is slowing down. And I think one of the things you see demand dropping when you see oil drop, right? So the demand for oil drop, people aren't buying as much. Then that flows through to quarterly reports for businesses, and then they're pressured to lay people off and that type of thing. And the Fed has basically indicated that, we're going to see some pain. In other words, they almost want to see, actually in the last meeting, they said, we want to see unemployment go up and people lose their jobs. It was kind of an interesting thing.
Right. It's a weird deal, right?
It's a weird deal, right? For them to come out and say that.
They literally want people to lose their jobs.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of that, I think that, when you double interest rates, certainly the affordability factor is going to slow down the real estate market to some degree, certainly. But the real estate industry typically is what leads the economy out of a recession.
Correct.
And so they can't harm it to the point where it slows down and just crashes. What happened in 2008, 2009 was, simply a lot of bad loans out there. And that's just not the case now. We've talked about that in previous shows. But, what we're seeing now is, demand nationally slowing down, and locally, real estate's very local. And so here we're not seeing that, it's a different.
I can tell you that Florida, I've been doing a lot of research this week because, obviously we're seeing the market slow down, but, I actually went back and watched some videos of mine, also Jeb Smith. Last summer, we were thinking that in the summer that the market may be slowing, and then we came into, October, and it just rebounded. I mean, and it went strong until, right up until Thanksgiving. And then through the holidays, people were still buying, so, we could be looking at the same thing right now. One of the, articles we're going to talk about actually says that out of the Palm Beach Post. But one of the things I want to cover is I've been really looking at the different markets in Florida and looking at retail and how it affects. I've been talking to other agents. And so Florida is a really good, I guess, example. Because if you look at the more rural markets in Florida, you're seeing retail being really crushed in those markets. But the closer you get to Miami, right, or South Florida, it's just retail is just crushing it. And so it looks like that to me that, people with money still have lots of money. And they're spending it. I mean, Lamborghini came out with their quarterly earnings. They're having the biggest year they've had in history.
Right.
There's that sport utility vehicle they came out with starts around $300,000. The yacht business is still booming here in Florida.
Good friend of mine's a yacht attorney, and he does large, cut transactions. He said we're still busy.
Right. They're still busy. So it's kind of, it looks like, what's happening here is you're creating the haves and have nots through this economy right now. And so we'll see what happens there. But, you got right now in Florida, anybody that wants a job has one.
What's the unemployment nationally? It's 3.5%. I think Miami was something like, it was ridiculous.
1.4, 1.7. I think 1.
It was 1. Yeah, it was well below 2.
1.7%.
1.7. I think is what it was.
But my daughter, here's a prime example. She works at Nordstrom's in Boca because she goes to Florida Atlantic. So she got a job there at Nordstrom's. She's making, I think $13 an hour. And I mean, she's also making commissions. I mean, on Sunday, she sold almost $1,000 worth of clothing. I mean, it's craziness. I mean, people are still spending money here. So, and houses are still selling. And when you look at like in Port St. Lucie, and what I will do is we'll pull this up next week. But if you look at Port St. Lucie in like PGA Verano, stuff over $1 million is under contract right now,
Right.
where the 4, 5, 600,000 is sitting on the market for 30 days.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really weird market right now. So we'll see what happens, but we're still getting calls from people moving to Florida right now. I mean, that's picked back up for us now. So we're starting to get more calls. So we're going to see more people move to Florida. And let's go to this. I was watching Cavuto the other day, and so David Dworkin, he's a National Housing Conference CEO, and he was talking about the real estate market here. I know I sent this over to you, Brent, to watch it. But, real estate developers are just shrugging off the slowdown here in Florida. They're just saying, hey, we're going to keep building. Mattamy Homes, prime example. We talked about it last week, Brent, that Mattamy is building 3 new communities right now, and 55 and over is planned. They have 2 communities that they're working on right now, Cadence and Kinley. They're clearing the land for Kinley, and then Cadence, they're building the models right now, and they're going to spec out the whole neighborhood. So they're going to build all of those homes like they did at Emory. So they're going to spec the whole community out and start building. And for them to take on that, being a private company, they have to believe that the market's going to keep moving.
That's right, Lee. And I'll tell you, and to define the word spec, it means speculative. In other words, they're building these homes without buyers. They don't have, so they've done their research and they know they're going to sell them as soon as they're up. So, and I think that says a lot, because
we lost Brent there for a minute.
Yeah.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Your internet slowed on us.
Okay.
Okay, you're back. All right. So that's something that's happening. Florida, this came out for July numbers. We've talked about it. This is all of Florida. July numbers up by 16% prices for single family homes. And then home sale price growth, you can see we're at 17.2%. New York's at 4.4%. So we're still clicking along here pretty good, Brent.
Supply and demand. And that's a migration issue there. Florida and New York,
Well, I mean, I know I have clients in New Jersey that basically, ended up having to drop the prices dramatically to get their homes sold so that they could move to Florida, because so many people have moved out of different areas of New York and New Jersey. So the market is definitely could stall there and go backwards. So here's the Palm Beach Post. So this all is recent this week, in the last couple of weeks. So Palm Beach County home sales appear to be on summer break, but lull is likely temporary. So that's what we saw last summer. We're seeing homes sitting on the market right now. I've got a couple of listings that's been on the market now for over 20 days. But, I mean, if we got back to regular, we went over this last week on our Wednesday video, last year at this time, average time on the market was 51 days, and we were still growing at 3 to 5% in Palm Beach County, and Port St. Lucie was 10%. And if you found a house that was completely rehabbed or was new and move-in ready in Port St. Lucie, we were in a bidding war. And if anything hit the market in Jupiter, it was a bidding war.
Right.
I mean, we've lost clients because they got so tired of bidding wars, and this was before pandemic.
10, 15 offers, Lee. I was writing pre-approval letters 10, 15 times for the same borrower, and it's frustrating for them,
Right. And I just want, I think agents who just got into the market, they're worried. Agents that have been in the market for a while, if we get, I necessarily don't think it's a bad thing to get back to, 30, 60 days on the market.
It's normal.
It's normal. Right.
Yeah. I love normal. I love boring.
Right. So this other article, why South Florida builders are bucking the national downward spiral in new home construction. We just went through that. Housing market in 24 cities may have peaked this summer, but not Florida. So, prices are still moving the upward move for Florida. And then this article came out. We got to put a video together for New Yorkers, man.
We have to.
You're welcome here. If you're watching from New York, come on down. All right. You've been watching the news. We're welcome. You come on down. You know,
yeah.
Taxes, housing, sunshine. Don't count on Florida's new arrivals to go back to New York. New York Post recently published an article, Steve Kuzo, titled "Listen Up, New York. Florida sucks and you'll be back in 5 years." This is all coming out of the Palm Beach Post. So,
who said that?
So, Steve Kuzo. So they think that people from New York, if you're from New York, leave a comment. Tell us if you're going back to Florida. I mean, going back to New York.
Go back to New York.
Florida. Yeah. I know I know the drivers here are bad. I actually have convinced myself of that. I have a Facebook group I'm involved with, New York, New Jersey to Florida. And the main thing these people bitch about is people driving in Florida. And I'm going to tell you, I did the research. New York had under 900 fatalities. Florida had 2,800 last year.
Yeah.
I mean, people are absolutely redonkulous on the freeways. They need to slow down. It's just stupid how they drive. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I tell you, I mean, you would think you would be in New York and New Jersey and the drivers would be horrible there, Brent.
No.
But I mean, I've done a ton of business up there. We had an advertising company, me and my partner, and I drove around New York and New Jersey. And yes, everybody goes and everybody drives and everybody, but the thing is people will let you in. Because like the way the old turnpike was coming out of like Mahwah into Newark, you had to you were in this lane over here. And then you had, I don't know if you've ever been on that, but you had to cross all the way over to get to the turnpike. So there's like 6 or 7 lanes. If you know what I'm talking about, leave a comment on that one because it's hilarious. But you had to move like 6 lanes over to catch the turnpike so that you could get to Newark Airport. And I remember the first time I'm like, how am I going to do this? Right. And I just put my blinker on and started moving over and everybody slowed down and just let me come over. And I realized in New York and New Jersey that people drive, they're trying to get there, but, they're not driving slow, but they're also not cutting you off and they're letting you in and, just have to tell them where you're going. That was a big deal. I learned that always use your turn signals in New York and New Jersey. You'll be okay.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. I'll tell you what, when I moved from Ohio to California, I've got to tell you, we got to say what's different here, right? And you take the good with the bad. I agree with you, Lee. When I moved from Ohio, because people go, 60 miles an hour.
Listen, I'm going to cut you real quick. California, Texas, and Florida, worst drivers in the United States. Most deaths on the highway of any state. Florida, Texas, California. It must be the heat. I don't know.
Well, there's 30 million drivers or 30 million cars in California, and I guess they're all going to electric. So there's a lot of things over there I don't really understand. But the one thing they do there, they can drive. I mean, they can. You're like in a stock car race. You're going 80, 90 miles an hour, 10 feet apart, and everyone knows what they're doing. It is amazing, and they're it's an incredible experience. There are very good drivers there.
Right.
Yeah, I will say
just
that.
To give people peace because. We were talking to our sellers, and just to give some people some peace here. So I showed this last week, and I changed it up again. So this is closed sales from 2018 to 2021. All right, this is all of South Florida. So this is from my MLS. It's all of South Florida. It's from Port St. Lucie all the way to Miami. So if we look here, closed sales in 2018 were 277,835. Okay. Price changes year to year, 2.2% from the following year, right? Mm-hmm. Then 2019, that started to pick up. 290, almost 300,000 closings, right? Mm-hmm. Then we hit the crazy years, right? So 2020, 2021, right? And so you can see how the numbers have gone up, and so we've got to go a long ways backwards for us to see And then even at these numbers is what we're talking about, 2018, 2019, Brent, we were in bidding wars in certain areas in South Florida and Port St. Lucie, depending on the house.
We still had a supply problem of homes, we really did. Yeah.
So, I mean, getting back to that, the crash thing, I mean, I don't know, rates could get so high that you're pushing so many buyers out of the market, but you're still going to have people come into Florida, and when they're selling their homes in these other states, they're coming with either cash or $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 down.
Right. That's what we're seeing too. Yeah. What percentage you think are you seeing cash buyers in Florida, Lee, from your experience? What are you seeing?
Well, I'm still getting cash buyers. I mean, I get I would say it's been like 1 out of 3 here lately, 1 out of 4.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm getting about 1 out of 3. They're on the fence. Should we pay cash, or should we keep, our money working for us in the market?
The last 10 buyers we've had, I've had 3 in there, cash buyers.
Right. That's
and
exactly
then the other buyers are, significant amount of money down. They're, depending on what they're buying.
Right.
So significant amount of money down.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing people moving from South Florida up here to, Jupiter or Palm Beach Gardens to Port St. Lucie. Especially retirees are moving to Port St. Lucie from South Florida. And if they're selling their home in South Florida, I mean, we just sold that 1-year-old home in 1,600 square foot, 1,680 square foot with a pool. I mean, it's very nice. I mean, he had $250,000 in his backyard, but we sold that in a day for cash for $750.
Right.
I mean,
and people are moving up here.
So if you sold that house for $750, you could go to Port St. Lucie, buy another new home that's 2,300 square foot and 2,400 square foot
brand
for
new,
the same money.
Right. Yeah. And people, and to give some perspective for those folks that are listening that are from out of the area, Broward County is Fort Lauderdale, Miami-Dade County is Miami. And so the movement is the migrations to Port St. Lucie, Martin County, this area, from those areas from further south, they're moving here because it's affordable.
Right.
And people are moving from New York to Miami because it's affordable.
Well, they're also trying to get out of the traffic. I mean, I just went down to Boca to get spent the last 2 days helping my daughter with her car so that she could go to school and work. And
good dad.
And so I just came back from Boca at 4:30, and it's bumper to bumper all the way through Del Rey. I had to get to West Palm Beach before it started to break up.
Yeah.
So Miami and that's 4:30.
Yeah, so, Miami feels like Los Angeles.
Miami's all day. We went down to a concert in Miami. We left the house at 4:00. We got to the stadium in downtown Miami at 6.
Right.
6:30. I'm sorry, it's 6:30. 6:30. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's fun.
That was the middle of the day. And once you catch that traffic at 5:00, it's over. I mean, it's just craziness. And there's all of the road construction too. So it's not.
Yeah, fun. I mean, if you like that, the nightlife, you can get down there. I know you love it, Lee. Get down there. You're down there in a few hours, and you can enjoy all the things. Miami.
Yeah, once you're down there, you can just Uber everywhere. You can get a little scooter and scooter everywhere, all over the city.
It's a couple hours away, though. I mean, you can have a lower cost of living up here, the better quality of life, and
literally an hour and a half to. It's exactly an hour and a half to South Beach.
Right.
So,
yeah, a lot to do, and the mayor down there, he's doing an incredible job. Just unemployment's super low. Just just the city's changed. I mean, it's safest city, they say, in the major city in America.
Well, less murders.
Is that what it is?
One of the lowest murder rates,
wow,
which has become a real problem in our big cities.
Right.
So, but with that being said, too, awful beautiful. I mean, just a really beautiful city, great people.
The
wonderful hotels to stay in. Beautiful beaches, great places to eat.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, city's open basically all night long if you want it to be. I mean, it's and now, I mean, you literally you I can't tell you how you know, you just don't worry about, you know, being
Right.
out on the street at nighttime and like you used to. I mean, even 5 years ago. I mean,
Right.
it's totally a different place to go now.
Yeah.
So another thing that's happening is this. So BlackRock, the world's largest
Mm.
asset management firm. Also, if you guys want to know who is buying up all the homes and renting them, BlackRock is really outpacing Blackstone now. So BlackRock, world's largest management firm, will sublease space at West Palm Beach office building. The company confirmed on Monday. So this is City Place. This is a really beautiful area in West Palm Beach, right off Okeechobee Boulevard. If you don't know where City Place is, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And so they're putting a 5,000 square foot office space there. And you know who they bring in? People that make 6 figures to 7 figures.
Right.
So, and this is happening everywhere. Citadel, you know,
Yeah.
they're all moving to Florida.
And they're here to buy single family homes.
Right. And they're buying single family homes.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're and one of the problems we're having in Florida right now with rentals is that, you know, I was listening to market news the other day and they were talking about how people are buying small investors now are buying rental properties, just buying them online. So they're getting an agent, working with the agent on and buying sight unseen and having a management company then cover the rental for them. And a lot of that's happening here in Florida, and that's just keeping up a pressure on rents.
Right.
The house I sold in Delray, if someone bought that and wanted to Airbnb it, it's 3.5 miles from the beach, mile and a half from the 95. You could rent that for $10,000 a month, Airbnb all day long.
Yeah. There's so many, the nightlife there. What's the main boulevard through there?
Atlantic Avenue and
Atlantic
the
Avenue.
restaurants. It goes all the way to the beach, and it's just really
Right.
beautiful. And there's tons of restaurants and shops, and it has nightlife. And
Yeah.
you know, there's condos, and it's
Mhm.
one of those walk around places where you can live and just
Yeah.
walk to everything.
You ought to do a video of that city, like Lee. 'Cause that's
I am. I'm
Are you?
gonna copy a couple of my guys in my company and
Good.
make a video on all the walk around cities in South Florida. But yes, absolutely.
There's some great cities, like, you think about that, and
Oh yeah,
Delray,
man. You got, you know,
Stewart.
listen, you live in tradition. You
There's
can walk,
tradition.
ride your bike, take a
Yep.
scooter, you know, golf cart everywhere. Abacoa here in Jupiter, same thing. You can walk, ride a bike, uh, golf cart everywhere. Coulter, they built this whole community here in Palm, right across from Abacoa, Palm Beach Gardens. Same thing. It's got a huge it's Publix with restaurants and shops and everything. People take their golf carts all around the neighborhood. They're biking, they're skateboarding, everything. Schools are all in the neighborhoods here in Abacoa. Saying, you know, they Mattamy built that school in Tradition. So there's a lot of places like that around. Even Fort Pierce. I mean, downtown Fort Pierce, there's condos and homes all around Fort Pierce that you can walk around. And Fort Pierce is a great little city.
Yeah, they're gonna do some redevelopment stuff up there, I'm sure. Just as
Doing a whole bunch of stuff. Yep, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it coming soon. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming there. There's a big surf park coming. It's gonna be awesome. So it's
That's great.
So I mean, they're building rentals around it, so you can go and stay and surf all weekend long, and surf's always up there.
That's
So
awesome.
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So that's all I got today, Brent.
Yeah, it's good stuff, though. It's good stuff. let's just keep an eye open on this jobs report on Friday. That's really going to
Okay.
be a market mover. We're locking our loans. So any individuals are just watching kind of, hey, what do I do now? I'm already in escrow or something like that. Or if you're a realtor, getting information, you just might want to consider locking a loan if you haven't, because rates are pressured higher. In the absence of any other news, the trend is going to be what the Fed is going out and trying to telegraph, what they're basically saying. As we see the recession kind of start to settle in, if I think we're already in one personally, but it hasn't been called yet. But that's we're seeing economic slowdown. There's no question.
Right.
In demand, and so
Well, and you locked some loans a few months ago, and it looked like that the builders for new construction were going to be able to come in and beat those rates, but not looking like that anymore.
Well, last month we killed it. Like the loans that we closed last month, were really good, and rates improved a little bit here about a month ago. They started to improve a month and a half ago, and now they're, and then they went right back up, and now they're coming back down again. So, it's we try to predict.
The stock market is very volatile right now.
It's very volatile, and
I mean,
you really have to read.
Yeah, it's very hard to read, and these money managers are saying they're not bullish on it at all right now.
Right.
So they're holding back. So the only people, I think the market's moving with traders. I know a few of my buddies trade, and they're they were buying a couple of days ago, and now they're selling again, and it's like so. I mean, I think that's where you're seeing the market move up and down. Home builder stocks were pretty good the other day, so looks like their earnings are still coming in. But I to close this up, I really believe that it's going to take a whole lot to stall the market in Florida.
Right.
It's going to take a whole lot because, I would say 90% of our clients now are coming from outside the state.
I know. And we're welcoming them. When I lived in California, there was a very different atmosphere. When I moved there from Ohio, it was like, stop coming here. You know what I mean? Because people were.
Well, that's the way people are here in Florida. They're like, hey, stop coming here. But but if you're in business, like we are, or and it's, or you own a business, so you own a small business.
Right.
I mean, let's use this for prime example. Okay, prime example. After the crash in Jupiter took a huge hit, Abacoa completely collapsed. Right? I mean, this is Jupiter, right? I'm going to tell you, the honeypot of Florida, no two ways about it. #1 fishing inlet in the United States. I mean, it's a beautiful place. I mean, celebrities live here for a reason. If you haven't watched my celebrity video, go watch it. It's really good. And you'll see all the celebrities that have lived here or are living here now. But celebrities live here for a reason, and have for many, many years. I mean, this is the home of Burt Reynolds, right? So, but Abacoa took a beating, right? When the market came back, people moving here from other states brought back, and people moving from South Florida as it began to become more and more congested down there, the Abacoa came back. There's a beer garden in Abacoa. He was trying to sell his space to the real estate company I worked for at the time was right next door. And he was trying to sell his space. And then all of a sudden, the market starts to come back and people are moving into Jupiter. And now he has 2 spaces. He has a full restaurant in there. And all of downtown Abacoa is booming. It's booming. My buddy has a barbershop there. He's got 2 now.
And how much of real estate price has gone up from 2010 to 2022?
I mean,
last 12 years.
Oh, my home I bought was $300,000 worth over $1 million now.
Right.
So, I mean, but let's take tradition, for example, in Port St. Lucie. Before the pandemic, I'd been in Port St. Lucie for a long time, and you could flip a house in Port St. Lucie all day long. You could buy it cheap, rehab it, and put it back on the market and flip it, no problem. Right. Then all of a sudden that started to tighten up. It was just the scattered lots, so the non-HOA 1/4 acre lots. Now the pandemic Tradition, which DeVosta built, which was Abacoa. He built the Abacoa. He also built Tradition. Tradition had gone bankrupt and Mattamy Homes had bought it. Riverland had moved in with GL and they were doing that play and stay. And it was basically just a few communities, 55 and over communities. And then the investors had bought up pretty much everything that was DeVosta. And all these homes were sitting there. They were outdated. They were rental properties. All the HOAs in Port St. Lucie were the same. All had been bought up. The HOAs were struggling. They didn't have enough reserves. COVID hits, the pandemic hits, and then people start moving into Florida, and it brought back all of these HOAs. So now you have all of these people coming in, and you have Abacoa. I mean, you have Tradition growing. Who's benefiting from that? The guy that owns the taco stand, the guy that owns the steak, the woman that owns the taco stand, the guy that owns the steakhouse, all the little small businesses, the little Greek restaurant that opened up there. All of these small businesses that have opened up have been flourishing because of the population. So the population growth, yes, it causes issues. I mean, we have it here. They're about to take our bridges and turn them from drawbridges to fixed bridges. That's going to be a nightmare, but it's a nightmare now getting to US 1 in the morning or the afternoon. Growth creates progress and it creates entrepreneurs and it allows people to create a side gig, right? And that side gig turns into a real business. And that's what happened over COVID. And I think one of the things that people found out is they were, especially restaurants, restaurants are still suffering here. They don't have enough employees. And one restaurant guy told me, he says exactly what happened was over COVID, the restaurants shut down and these people weren't working. And then all these jobs came open and they were able to move from the restaurant business to a job that they wanted. And then a lot of people got degrees online, a lot of, they got their nursing degrees. They went to trade schools. There's a lot of growth that is a lot of jobs and people are making money now in Florida because of this growth. And,
we're Americans. We solve problems. We solve problems, right? You get the pandemic.
I think the biggest problem is the real estate prices have gotten so high that it's really causing a problem. But that's no one else's fault except for the Federal Reserve. I mean, they're pouring money into, you can't just push money into the market forever and expect it and keeping rates down the way they are. So, I understand what they're doing and it needs to be done. And it's going to be painful for a while, but I tell people, I would say, and I know you agree with me on this, if you're looking to buy a home, buy a home. If you're looking to flip real estate, I don't know, I'm not, 6 months ago, I was all in on it. Now, if you're buying cash, great. If you're financing, you might, it's going to be tight because I think rental prices have capped out. I mean, I really do. I don't think they can go much higher because they're not going to, people aren't going to have to, they're going to have to move somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, 25% of the rentals being owned by institutional investors too. I mean, they're going to have a little bit of a corner on it. So there's going to be pressure, they're going to get as much as they can. It's not going to be like renting from your cousin or your uncle. You know what I mean?
And with prices going up the way they are, I mean, you're not homesteaded on these properties. So your taxes are going to go up with the price of the house and you got to cover those taxes.
Right.
And that's something I want to go over too. One of the things I think Port St. Lucie and every city is going to have to look at, especially Port St. Lucie, is I think they're going to have to look at this tax situation and these CDD bonds.
Lee froze up for a bit there.
Sorry. I think the tax situation in Port St. Lucie and the CDD bonds are going to have to be looked at.
Revisit
by the city.
That.
Yeah. Taxes are, 2.2% Tradition, 2% everywhere else. And, it's a little, and then you add the CDD bond on it with prices, approaching, in PJ Verano, they're over $1 million.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
the counties, the municipalities, they're all running surpluses now because of that,
right. And Port St. Lucie, so everyone knows, it was a terrible position. It was terrible. I mean, the schools were bad. The crime was bad. I mean, the houses were all empty. There was foreclosures everywhere. They foreclosed on the whole city and it destroyed it.
2008 to
Oh my
2012.
gosh, it was just terrible. I can't believe the banks will never do something like that again. They'll never. That's why they went so hard with these forbearances.
Right. I saw homes online when I lived in California. I'm like, where is Port St. Lucie? This is in 2007, 2008. I'm like $60,000 homes. And they look like brand new homes, $70,000, $80,000. I mean,
and they hurt
like,
so many people up there too. I mean, so many people. I mean, we were dealing with the people in these, foreclosing still and foreclosures on their credit reports for a long time.
10 years.
Right.
Yeah. Your partner flipped what, 500 homes or something like that?
500 homes in a year.
That's where, there was a time for that. Right. I mean, it's, you want to capitalize on the opportunities, right? And there's always opportunity, even in difficult times, frankly. Most companies that are, household names now are started during recessions. And so I think it's all about being creative, solving problems and taking advantage of the sweet spots when they're available,
Right. I think though, so many builders are in Port St. Lucie, so many developers. I think the city's going to have to do something.
Yeah.
If they're going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
Because it's not Palm Beach County. I mean,
Right.
it's a ways away from that.
Right.
It's a nice place to live. You're 30, 45 minutes, an hour. Even if you're in Fort Lauderdale, a couple hours, maximum during traffic to get there.
Mm-hmm.
My dad drove that every day in Texas. You live in California, get ready for it. You live down south, you're dealing with it every day. Just to go from your house, what would take you an hour, 30 minutes is going to take you 2 hours. So, I mean, people have to deal with it. But the thing about Port St. Lucie is, I believe there's a long run as far as equity goes up there. But if they want this, I would think if they want this, the residential market to continue to grow, they're going to have to do something with taxes. Because you're taking these taxes and you're stacking a CDD bond on top of it. Some of these CD bonds, I mean, are $1,000 or more. I mean, so.
And this, to the point, Lee, and it's all relative, right? When I lived in California, there was an area that they called it Melrose tax there, and it would be like a bond to pay for the infrastructure, right, in new development. And it was I looked at homes in the $600,000 range, and it was $20,000 a year for taxes. It's just and Chicago,
but,
you go to those places and taxes are just crazy.
Right, but that's why they're coming here.
Right.
But we can't have we need to make sure, young families that are making, a good living, are working hard. They're, that they can afford to buy a home. And
absolutely,
so, I mean, there's, Palm Beach County's 1.6%, Martin County's right around 0.9%. So 2%, I think, is a little high. I mean, that's Miami Beach.
Yeah.
So anyways, so again, if you are watching this now or you're watching it later, leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about what we're talking about. Let us know your opinions on the market right now. Let us know your opinions on moving from New York to Florida. And also, if this is the first time you've been to our channel, please don't forget to slap that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our real estate tips and tours. We do this every single week, and Brent is here with us to talk about what's happening with mortgages. So you don't want to miss it. Invite your friends, share this video. We really appreciate it, and give us a thumbs up because it helps the algorithm and allows more people to see this. And it seems like people are enjoying what we're talking about here. So we're going to keep doing it forever.
Great. Love to do it.
All right. So have a great night. Thanks for watching again tonight. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next week.
Good night.